Welcome back to The Line. Earlier this week, the Albuquerque Journal reported that NMSU proposes new exemptions in the state's Inspection of Public Records Act, also known as, we'll talk about it here, IPRA. The proposed changes could cover information about candidates for some jobs. And Sophie, President Carruthers argues that, there's a chilling effect when you can see who's applying for a high-level job. And there should be some level of secrecy or protection for that person in their privacy. And of course, we've got others saying, no, we should have that kind of information out there. Is that the basics of it here, as you see it, or is there something else that he's trying to get at?
I think that President Carruthers would like us to think that that's all he's really on about. But the truth of the matter is, NMSU is a public institution. IPRA exists to provide the community with insight into those public institutions. And what we see here is NMSU's ability to hire a football coach versus freedom of information.
Athletic director.
Thank you. And freedom of information and the ability for the community to understand how their dollars are being spent and what is happening in their public institutions. And you know what? I have a very hard time saying, yes, your athletic director is more important than the public's right to know what's going on within your school. And I also feel that there are probably ways that NMSU could manage that hiring so that the names don't come out.
Right.
I do believe that without this sort of larger dampening of the ability to get that information.
Interesting. Dan, your thought on this? It's a lot more complicated, as Sophie's starting to draw out here, than just privacy, applicants versus other people. It gets complicated, but in the general sense of things, I always call him Governor Carruthers because, of course, he was our governor. Is he on the right track here? I
think he makes, to some extent, a valid point. I understand what Sophie's saying. That where I disagree is back to your superintendent comment we had in the last segment. If you're going to get people that want to test the waters, not everybody's unemployed at this time. And so when your current employer finds out that you're out interviewing for other jobs, sometimes you can lose your job, your current job, or your current employer can say, we're done with you. And so I do know on the
or at the
athletic
least,
side,
it hastens your demise.
That's right.
May not be at the moment.
That's right.
Or let me just say, secures you a raise.
That's right.
So just to put that out there.
But I could give you a perfect example. There's a Division I football coach that I know that he was coaching at Alabama. And the rule at Alabama was you can interview for any job you want. If the job you're interviewing for isn't better than the job you have for me, when you come back, you're not getting your job back. So he was the offensive coordinator at Alabama. If he interviewed for New Mexico State and they chose not to hire him, he's not going to be the offensive coordinator at Alabama. So I think there's got to be a way to do this. I don't know that the public's interest truly, I don't think the public cares about who the 50 applicants are. I think they care about the process, what you're paying the people, what you expanded. I think there's a way to tweak this to say if you can show a valid reason why this was going to damage somebody, we can kind of blacken their stuff out and move it to the side and not make that available. But I think taking this total approach that we got to change the whole Freedom of Information Act, I think is a slippery slope.
One of the things, if I might jump in, one of the things that President Carruthers has said, which I find fascinating, is it's expensive for us. It takes a lot of time to answer these Freedom of Information Act or IPRA requests, and that's too high a burden on us. He's actually talking about more than just run off the names and resumes of the people who are applying. He's talking about the entire system that's in place, that is in place for governmental entities.
And you're allowed to pass
to
that
ensure
cost
that
on,
information,
I believe, aren't you?
Up to a point.
Yeah, you're allowed to pass through. I mean, like, so if you got to make someone go make all these copies, the current law says if you don't have the staff to do that, you can say, look, it's going to cost us money to do this. I think my point is to kind of agree with Sophie I think there's safeguards in place that it shouldn't be costing New Mexico State all this money to do all
Interesting. This. Rachel, there are a number of issues here. They're calling them exemptions. We should get that on the table as opposed to a full and complete tweak. However, one of them that some folks have some trouble with is limit access to records revealing the identity of individuals making civil rights complaints as well as those accused of civil rights violations but not yet found guilty. A lot of folks are finding that's real problematic. That is something that truly should be a public record.
Absolutely. Full disclosure, I'm on the board of the Society of Professional Journalists Rio Grande chapter, and as soon as we saw this proposal, we sent an open letter to President Carruthers saying that we were very much opposed to it and very concerned about it. What concerned us was just those exemptions that are being proposed, potentially, that go far beyond anything affecting a job search, those exemptions for civil rights complaints, finding out who's being accused and who's accusing. And also there's a provision in the proposal that NMSU has drafted that would affect availability of records pertaining to law enforcement proceedings. And some of those things could be interpreted very broadly. I would also say personally, if you don't have the stomach to deal with your name being in an open search
Yes.
for a university position,
Right.
you're probably not going to do very well under the scrutiny of that position.
It's a fair point. It's a fair point. Let me pick up on something, Rob, that Dan started and Rachel just carried the baton. Is it different for somebody applying for something if they're in state? Does that ring in your gut as a difference? Let's say, it's one thing to come from Alabama, apply to be a offensive coordinator. Is it different if you're in the local area and you're applying for something and your current boss finds out? Does that ring a little bit different for you on this one?
I don't think so.
Okay.
My general thought is that if you're working for a public entity or you're
Right.
going to apply for a public entity, then it's public record.
Right.
And besides, there are enough exceptions, if not in statute, just by practice. 2012, Barbara Couture stepped down or was forced out at New Mexico
It's a mystery,
State and
isn't
got
it?
a $450,000 parachute.
right.
And
That's right.
we still, to this day, do not know why she left.
Long
For
before
that
her
matter,
contract
Winston
was up.
Brooks. I mean,
Right.
we're dealing with that issue right now, the Winston Brooks.
Just between those two people, we were
Departure.
talking almost $1 million.
This is going to be interesting. I appreciate the letter your organization sent. I did see the response to it.
Yes.
He wants to sit down and talk and try to thrash this out. What would you anticipate that conversation entailing?
Basically, his initial response was he sort of zeroed in on, it seems like you all are especially alarmed by the law enforcement proceedings exemption. I get that.
yeah.
He did bring up the cost of providing the records and said, I trust that you all would support in statute having full cost recovery. I would say that we would support reasonable cost recovery, which is already in
Yeah,
statute.
we'll follow up on this one. This is interesting, isn't it? A lot of things at stake for the public here. So up next, the line looks at Albuquerque's tent city.